What if I told you that one of the richest empires in history was built on stealing tea, textiles, and taxes from a land thousands of miles away? This isn't a conspiracy. It's the story of how Britain turned India, from the jewel of the East, into a machine for imperial profit. And the numbers are staggering. When the British East India Company first arrived in India, in the early 1600s, they came as traders. Polite, diplomatic, interested only in buying spices and silks. But over the next 2 centuries, that changed. By the 1800s, Britain wasn't just trading with India, they were ruling it. And not for India's benefit. Between 1765 and 1938, the British extracted what economists today estimate as $45 trillion, yes, trillion with a T, from India. To put that in perspective, that's more than the entire GDP of the United States. Twice over. But how did they do it? They taxed the Indian population heavily and used those funds to pay British officials and finance wars. They deindustrialized Indian cities like Dhaka and Murshidabad, once global textile capitals, by flooding the markets with cheap British factory goods, destroying centuries-old local industries. Indian weavers were even banned from producing certain fabrics, just so British mills could profit more. Imagine being arrested for making cloth in your own country. Then came the famines. Over 30 million Indians died of starvation under British rule, not because there wasn't enough food, but because that food was being exported. In 1943, while Bengal starved, Churchill refused to divert ships from war efforts to deliver grain. When asked if food relief should be sent, his response was cold, "Why hasn't Gandhi died yet?" But Britain wasn't just extracting money. They were extracting knowledge, art, minerals, and identity. Sanskrit manuscripts ended up in Oxford. Koh-i-Noor, one of the world's most famous diamonds, still sits in the British crown jewels. Indian soldiers fought and died in world wars to defend an empire that never truly cared for them. So what did Britain actually gain? A global empire built on Indian backs. London's railways, universities, and banks boomed with Indian wealth. Victorian prestige and scientific institutions flourished using resources and researchers from the colonies. Even tea, so synonymous with British culture, was an import from India and China. They didn't invent it. They monetized it. And India? When the British finally left in 1947, they left behind a country with 90% illiteracy, widespread poverty, shattered industry, and deep religious divisions. The cost of freedom was not just political, it was economic, cultural, and generational. Today, some argue that Britain brought railroads and law to India. But the railways were designed to extract resources faster. And the laws? Crafted to keep Indians obedient. There's a reason why rebellions were brutally crushed, like the 1857 revolt where entire villages were wiped out. This isn't about guilt, it's about truth. For decades, the story of the British Empire was told as a tale of civilization and glory. But peel back the polished veneer, and you find exploitation, suppression, and systematic looting on a scale the world had never seen. So, next time someone asks how much Britain benefited from colonizing India, don't just say a lot. Say trillions. Say millions of lives disrupted. Say a legacy still felt today. And if you found this hidden side of history eye-opening, make sure to subscribe to Trivia Tales, because the past isn't just what happened. It's what we were never told.